What's up, everybody? I caught AMC's early screening of F1 yesterday, and Brad Pitt had the theater packed on a Monday. Let's dive in. The question that everyone's been asking is, can this movie be the new Top Gun, that new big summer blockbuster, and capture the movie-going audience as Brad Pitt and Damson Idris butt heads and race cars? Those two were a great duo in this movie, and I'd say most, if not all, of Brad Pitt's best scenes in the movie featured Damson Idris too. Then just a notch below that duo, you've got the Pitt-Carrie Condon duo, and I thought their chemistry was just good, not great. They didn't feed each other's performances the same way that he and Damson did, so while they were both great in certain scenes and they had good scenes together, this didn't mesh as much as I thought it would from the trailers. But by the end of the movie, you're still rooting for them, so that's kind of all that matters in a summer blockbuster. Brad Pitt on his own, however, so when he's away from Damson Idris, when he's away from Carrie Condon, when he's away from Javier Bardem, in those scenes where he's got the spotlight, I thought he was kind of meh. He did bring a great intensity to the scenes where we see him mid-race, but the team meetings and stuff like that off the race course, it was so-so to be honest. In fact, I'd say Damson Idris, he was the one who stole this movie when it's all said and done. But I do have one gripe with the movie, a silly gripe albeit, but still, one gripe is that blue balls the audience with Shea Wiggum. Now, I'm messing around here, it's not that big of a deal, but I think he would have been so much fun next to or even opposite Javier Bardem down the final stretch in this movie, who essentially Javier Bardem kind of comes in and replaces him in Sonny's story, in Sonny's journey in driving cars after the opening scene, and he's great, of course. I loved Javier Bardem in this movie, but I just wanted more of the Wiggum. Anyway, without getting into too many spoilers, I want to touch on the story, but also spoilers aren't, the biggest deal with this movie because this isn't so much about are they going to win, it's how are they going to win. That's the ride this movie takes you on, and for me, it worked like a charm because this was the fastest 2.5 hours of my life, at least in a movie theater. But we're also watching the egos of Sonny Hayes and JP come together instead of getting in or even out of each other's way. They form one enormous ego, something I do assume you need to race at 200 miles per hour, by the way. You need an insane amount of confidence in yourself. And I think the movie doubling down on the crash injury storyline actually did end up helping when I was a bit nervous when it happened. As a matter of fact, I came out of the movie thinking the best portion of the movie was the Vegas stretch, and that's where the final portion of the crash injury storylines comes into play. The race there is great, and most importantly, the stuff off the track, including the injury and recovery and stuff, is good too, which keeps everything moving up until the end in Abu Dhabi. I was also a big fan of how the movie wraps things up with that final race in Abu Dhabi. It goes back to how much I love the dynamic between Pitt and Damson, Sonny and JP, as it's not even the best race in the movie, like visually, or even maybe hype-wise I'd give it to it, but I'm not quite sure. But watching them work together and just straight up play other drivers is electric. Now, does that mean that this is going to be, an Oscar sweep, that it's the best story of the decade? Of course not. But what it does do is lock you in like they lock the drivers in their cars for F1 and keep you locked in every minute of the movie. It's a great experience and you care just enough about the characters, so I'd say the story works just fine. It's not anything special. Finally, I do want to touch on the visuals as well as the sound design and Hans Zimmer's score from this movie because, that's kind of the whole point of a movie like this. Let's be real. I mean, with summer blockbusters, of course you want a good movie, but really, I want to be sitting there like I'm Owen Wilson. At least that's me. If you don't have a great sound design in your racing movie or your Top Gun-esque movie, it's a lost cause, and this one, thankfully, was great. Feeling sleepy? Feeling like you want to lay down for a nap? Go watch this. The zip of the cars and the smashing of the cars is adrenaline in the form of sound, and it rocks. But you can only have that for so many scenes, obviously, and so the soundtrack and the score, they come in to fill that gap and they keep you locked in. And yes, that means what you think it means, as he always does. Hans Zimmer delivered like the great he is, cooking up a phenomenal score that's only further enhanced by the way that it's weaved into the movie. I've got no complaints for the sound department behind F1. The visuals, on the other hand, same story. They're damn good. The car camera setup that they had in this was great. I thought Joseph Kaczynski and Claudio Miranda crafted stunning visuals. I really loved the split screen race that they did. I believe Blanking, I believe it was the one before Vegas, if I'm remembering correctly, and then the VFX team matched that as the transitions between real footage that they shot of Brad and Damson racing and all the guys racing, and the CGI race was absolutely seamless. But to answer the question, is this a new Top Gun Maverick, the new Top Gun? I think the answer is yes. As far as just the movie's concerned, it's a great racing movie. The sound is incredible, the visuals are great, Brad Pitt's pretty good, Damson Idris is incredible. However, I don't think it's gonna make Top Gun Maverick money. July is just too big of a month with Jurassic next week, which I know F1 is keeping IMAX screens, so it gets a little bit of an edge on Jurassic, but still, Jurassic's gonna make more. It's fucking dinosaurs. And then you've got Superman and Fantastic Four capturing the nerds in a couple weeks. I just don't see where it's gonna have the legs to get it to a Billy, even though it is the kind of the definition of a summer blockbuster. And so that's going to do it for my review of F1. I'm not a big racing guy, but racing movies rock, and F1 does not disappoint there. But if you have any questions about the movie, drop them down in the comments below. Or if you caught an early screening like me, let me know what you thought of the movie and make sure you have a great day.